Hello, this presentation, Responding to the Scene, is based on a hypothetical situation previously covered in another learning plan. Areas discussed include a basic description of the 7 critical tasks and then a brief explanation of the given scenario. Then each task will be applied to the situation as I would have done and not as they were done in the incident. Additional resources for the scene will be identified, and the presentation will conclude with a brief overview of the National Incident Management System, or NIMS, and how the system could have aided the sheriff in his response. The diagram shown here gives a layout of the incident. Here, the dispatcher sends the sheriff to the scene of the accident, and the sheriff calls for all deputies to meet him at the scene. The chemical in the tanker is unknown, the overturned vehicle has an engine fire, and there are 2 adults and 2 children in the trapped vehicle. The sheriff instructs the deputy to call for fire and EMS, another deputy to try and get the people out of the trapped vehicle, and a 3rd deputy to check on the truck driver. He then instructs the 1st deputy, after calling for resources, to wait until they arrive. The deputy at the overturned vehicle discovers it contains his child and the child's mother, and as he removes the mother and walks away from the trapped vehicle, the flipped vehicle explodes, killing her and leaving the deputy unharmed. The sheriff and the 3rd deputy end up pulling the truck driver out of the semi, only to have him bleed out due to being impaled on the shifter. Fire arrives, and the sheriff relieves himself of being incident commander. The 7 critical tasks are tasks that should be completed during the crisis phase of an incident in order to bring stabilization to the incident. These tasks can be completed in any order, depending on the situation, and they provide a generic game plan for any situation and can be used as a basic guide. The 7 critical tasks are establishing control and communications, identifying the hot zone, establishing the inner perimeter, establishing the outer perimeter, establishing the command post, establishing a staging area, and identifying and requesting additional resources. The first task to be completed is establishing control and communications. Control refers to control of the situation or taking over as leader. First, you should announce over the radio upon arrival that you are the incident commander. This allows people to know who to report to. You should then establish a designated radio channel specific for the incident until the scene is cleared. The diagram here shows a layout of the incident and the area around it. It will be modified with each slide to show the next tasks as they are completed. The pink square is the location of the incident. Roads are shown in green, and this is not drawn to scale. The hot zone is the area surrounding the incident and the area that poses a threat to responders and others. The hot zone in this situation should cover a large area due to the leaking chemical tanker and the passenger vehicle that is on fire because of the risk of explosion, as well as possible fumes coming from the leaking chemical. To do so, I established the hot zone as having a 500-foot perimeter around the area initially, so it's 1,000 feet across, and this is shown by the pink outline. The inner perimeter is the area that responders work in to contain the hot zone. Here it's shown with the yellow border. The inner perimeter prevents the incident from becoming bigger. It should be large enough that it will not need to be expanded later if the hot zone increases, and it gives responders enough room to work in without being crowded. In this case, the inner perimeter should be 3/4 of a mile across. The outer perimeter provides an area for responders to set up and control access to the inner perimeter. Here it's shown in blue. The command post and staging area are located between the outer and inner perimeters. The outer perimeter creates a line for the public and media to stay behind in order to protect them, the scene, and to give responders working room. It should be established roughly a mile across in all, leaving about a 1/4 mile between the outer and inner perimeters for this situation. The command post manages the incident and resources responding to the incident. Here it's shown with the brown square. By having a command post, everyone on scene knows where to go for their orders and questions because this is where the incident commander will be located. The staging area provides responders like EMS and hazmat a safe area to set up and respond to the situation. Here it's shown in purple. The staging area must be large enough to give responders room to maneuver equipment and set up stations if needed, without interference from other responders on the scene. It should also be set up away from the command center, so that way there is not interference between the two. Here you can see the complete layout of the scene. Again, roads are shown in green. The pink square is the incident. The pink border is the hot zone. The yellow border is the inner perimeter. The blue border is the outer perimeter. The brown square is the command post. The purple squares are the staging area. And the orange lines, squares, and arrows shown on the roads shows where traffic should be blocked and the flow of traffic that can be allowed. By limiting traffic to the intersections shown, responders have multiple intersections to use for entering and leaving the outer perimeter. This ensures responder traffic will not be a problem. Multiple resources would come in handy in this situation. EMS, hazmat, and fire should all be called to the scene to assist. Also, the EPA should be notified so they can arrange cleanup of the spill to prevent environmental contamination. Another resource could be the trucking company, as they should be able to quickly identify the unknown chemical. Before I list how NIMS could have aided the sheriff, I will give you a small idea of what NIMS is. The National Incident Management System, NIMS, is a system that directs incident responses by providing a generic plan to aid coordination between responding agencies to emergencies. This system is universal and can be used by any level of response, such as local, state, or federal. This system allows agencies from multiple jurisdictions to work together efficiently by providing a system that they can all follow. NIMS provides a top-down framework for authority and can be used by private and public agencies together. NIMS could have aided the sheriff in this situation in several ways. It would have provided a clear protocol on how to respond until the appropriate resources arrived. The sheriff was very conflicting in his commands of the situation and even had the deputies vote on an action before they did it. NIMS and the 7 critical tasks would have shown the sheriff what to do instead of attempting rescue and putting the deputies at risk. It would have provided instructions on how to direct the deputies as well. Again, the sheriff would have been able to give clear orders instead of being unsure in his actions and even putting some actions to a vote. The system would have provided instructions on where to place perimeters to contain the scene until resources arrived. It would have also provided instruction on who to call and when to order resources to the scene. Resources were called by a deputy, but the trucking company should have been contacted as well. Their response time may have been quicker had they been able to identify the chemical sooner. Had the sheriff used NIMS in his response, it may have provided for a better reaction to the deputies after the incident was contained. The sheriff brushed off concerns and signs of stress in his deputies during the weeks following the incident. They began calling in sick, and one was found passed out drunk in his service truck. NIMS would have provided the sheriff with tactics after the incident to handle their reactions and stress symptoms. This presentation went over what the 7 critical tasks are, how they looked applied to the incident, what NIMS is, and how NIMS could have helped the sheriff in this situation. Thank you for watching my presentation.